iJuice360 podcast, episode 10.0, August 5th, Thursday, 2010. Hey everybody, welcome to the iJuice360 podcast. It's just me on this one because Derek, Andrew, and the rest of the staff couldn't record today, but that means it's just going to be a shorter episode. So I possibly could fit this into one part. It depends on how much I ramble, but we'll see what happens. So I'm basically just going to jump straight into this. This is episode 10.0. I can't believe that we've hit 10 episodes. So, yeah, thanks for listening, for all our listeners that listen on a usual basis. So, yeah. So, our first story is Android sales overtake iPhone in the U.S. Surprise, surprise, nothing that we really weren't expecting. Obviously, there are a lot more Android devices than there are iPhones. iPhone is only one model of a phone, while the Android OS is on a lot of different ones. So it was only a matter of time until the Android overtook it in sales-wise. The thing is only in the U.S., so worldwide the iPhone is still king as far as sales go. But we'll see. I'm sure eventually it will, but I think this is going to be like an ongoing battle back and forth. The iPhone's going to be on top, and the Android. But for the most part, Android will probably be on top for the most part because of the same reason. There are a lot more Android devices out there. So I have some statistics here from the story straight off our site. 21% of Android users plan on purchasing an iPhone next, which is pretty interesting. But 71% plan on just sticking with the Android. 5% want an other OS smartphone, aka unspecified, and 3% want to use a BlackBerry after their current Android. Moving on, in the iPhone world, 89% of users plan on buying another iPhone after their current one, which is pretty normal. But that is also awesome. 6% of iPhone users want an Android device next. That's a pretty low number. 3% want an other OS smartphone, and 2% want a BlackBerry. As you can see, the BlackBerry market seems to just getting smaller and smaller. I'll talk about that in a second. Last but not least, the BlackBerry users. 42% of BlackBerry users want another BlackBerry device, so not even half. 29% of BlackBerry users want an iPhone next, and 21% want an Android next, and 7% want an other OS device after their current BlackBerry. As you can see, the BlackBerry numbers are just getting smaller and smaller, I think. Really, to me, I think it's because the other smartphones, iPhones, Androids, are just getting so advanced that they really you don't really need a BlackBerry now. It again is a good phone for the business world, but you can get the same thing really now with the Android and the iPhone. So that's why it looks like the numbers are going down for the BlackBerry. Will it be dropped eventually, but no time soon? The BlackBerry still has its place in the business world because a lot of people use their BlackBerry for business. So I think we'll just continuously, the BlackBerry numbers will just slowly decrease, and then out of nowhere, behind the lines, or I guess behind the scenes actually, the BlackBerry will just slowly fade away. But again, that'll be no time soon. Alright, so moving on to the next story. Wave goodbye, Google. So almost a year ago, Google announced Wave, which is kind of like their social networking hub. It wasn't used very often. Well, I guess a lot of people didn't use it. So that's why it was shut down. Well, it actually hasn't been shut down, but Google recently announced that Wave will no longer receive any future updates. Wave is actually not even a year old, but Google said they're jumping the Wave ship because of obvious low user rate. Most people, including myself, didn't find much of a need for Wave. You could use an IM service for almost all of Google's Waves all of Google Wave's services, sorry. But it's not dead. You can still use Wave today, but Google will no longer put any more work into it besides updates. Well, that actually it's not true, but Google will no longer put any more work into it. So basically, they won't be updating it anymore. But again, you can still use it as far as I know. But I wouldn't be surprised if they completely close down Wave by the end of the year, if not sooner, because of the same low user rate that came straight off of our site. So yeah, no surprise. Wave was not used often. Like I mentioned in the story, you could use an IM service for almost everything Wave did do. Like Wave had this thing called Discussion, which is basically like a chat room. Again, you can do that with AIM or the Google Instant Messaging service, Yahoo, whatever it may be. You could just do most of the stuff that you can do in Wave. You could already do with whatever IM service that you use. So I would not be surprised if Wave is just killed off completely by like the end of this year or early next year, because if we don't see an improvement in the user rate, I'm sure Google's just gonna drop it. But again, not a lot of people have a need for it, so it probably will be dropped pretty soon. So yeah, I'm gonna take a break. I know I only hit 2 stories, but I think I only have one more after the break. So yeah, I'll see you after the cut. Hey guys, it's Jaelen here from iJuice360. I just want to let you guys know about our Sponsor of the Week program. It is fully launched. We kicked it off just a few days ago, and we're ready for companies to basically advertise on our site. So if you would like to have your company on our site for a week, you just head on over to our homepage, and on the right side of the page is a Sponsor of the Week box, and you can have your logo put in that box. If you're wondering how to basically do that, just head over to our site, click on the sponsorship page, and it gives you all the details. Basically, if your company sends us a product to review, you will have your logo put in the Sponsor of the Week box for a week straight on our homepage. Just wanted to let you guys know about that. So back to the show. Alright, so we're back, or I'm back. So our last story of the day is about the iPod Touch 4th generation. Oh wow, I cannot believe I'm already saying the iPod Touch 4. Can't believe it's even been that long for the iPod Touch. So basically, the new rumor with the iPod Touch 4, I almost said iPhone, is this new camera rumor. Just like last year, there was a huge rumor going around about a camera coming to the iPod Touch. Well, boy, were we wrong. As you know, obviously the iPod Nano received a camera instead of the iPhone, or iPod Touch. So this year the rumor is back, like expected. I'm sure this is going to be a yearly thing until it finally happens. But this year is looking better than ever. If you remember back when the iPhone 4 was first announced, Steve Jobs said that FaceTime will be coming to different devices, not just the iPhone 4. So the iPhone 4 will be able to talk with other FaceTime devices. He said something along those lines. So meaning that we'll be seeing another device, another Apple device using FaceTime. So I'm sure the iPod Touch will be one of them. Maybe the iPad, and then what I think maybe even building some type of FaceTime feature or functionality into Photo Booth or iChat on your Mac. So you can talk to people on the desktop or people who are at home through FaceTime. But anyway, going back to the iPod Touch, I'm sure this is going to be one of the devices that they build FaceTime into, and if you have FaceTime, you obviously need to have a camera for that. So some prototype photos are coming up now. These are, I believe, photoshopped or something like that, with pictures of the iPod Touch. You can see the front of it, and then you can see the back of it, which has a camera on the back in the upper, the upper right-hand corner, away from the volume rockers. You have the camera, and then you have the flash. Nothing on the front, but the big argument comes up on how can they fit this camera into the iPod Touch and keep its slim design. here on MacRumors.com, it says if Apple were to squeeze a rear-facing camera into the next generation iPod Touch, moving it to a corner as found in the iPhone would seem to be a reasonable shift away from the centered rear camera on current generation prototypes that were ultimately scrapped. I remember last year they had a prototype of a camera that was centered in the middle on the back. Well, it was in the center except to the top of the device, if that makes any sense. So a move could provide additional space within the device's body depending on the degree of tapering, particularly if Apple is looking to center a front-facing camera on the other side of the device. So by moving it over to the corner, it could open up some room for a front-facing camera. So we could be seeing two cameras just like in the iPhone 4. So who knows? I think we'll definitely be seeing one. Two is kind of a gamble, but I'm sure we'll see one. Not too sure on which side though. Yeah, but definitely one. If I had to pick between which side, I'm gonna say the front, seeing that FaceTime has just been launched and they want to get another FaceTime device in. It would just make a little more sense to me there. But who knows? It could be the back. You never know. Or again, it could be both. So, but like I said, for like the third time, one or the other definitely. So yeah, that's our last story for the day. Again, this is a quick episode. Not too sure if this is one part or two. So yeah, thank you for listening. Again, like I announced in the middle of the show about our sponsorship program, if you're interested, head over to our site and click on the sponsorship page. So thank you for listening, and I'll see you in episode 10.1. Thanks for listening, and stay frosty.